All right, so we're back here on another Friday afternoon for another edition of Weekly Crossbar. Ellis Joshua, and joined alongside me as always is Coach Wink. Coach Wink, how are we doing here this afternoon?
Doing good, Alice. A little tired, as I was telling you before we jumped into this recording. Coach Wink has a little game. I guess you call it a game or contest or competition with my son-in-law. We do the first round of the NFL draft. So that kept me up late last night, and the Knicks didn't let me sleep very well last night. Wasn't very happy about that, and I know you weren't as well. So a little melancholy to be honest with you. Excited about what we got going on moving forward and what we've seen so far this year, but we had a good week. I mean, obviously you started off last Saturday morning early at 10 a.m. and you were in Pequa catching the Pequa Port Washington game, which was a doozy. I want to tell the world what happened in that big showdown of A schools.
Yeah, Nassau Class A showdown that went to Massapequa 11-10 in overtime, actually. So Savannah Appleton, the sophomore, she had the game-winning free position in OT to give Pequa the win. But for a while there, that one wasn't looking like OT was going to be needed because Massapequa at one point, they led by 5 goals, up 7-2 at halftime. And then Port Washington, they kind of flipped the switch in that second half and ignited a comeback, actually took a 1 goal lead on a couple of occasions in that fourth quarter, but Massapequa able to get a tying goal and then come up with some clutch saves actually by Kira Durnan. She had two unbelievable saves. This was inside of 20 seconds remaining with Port Washington on the doorstep, a chance to take the lead, but Durnan came up with back-to-back saves, and eventually it would go into overtime, and that was where Appleton had the game winner. But also for Massapequa, just like some of their standouts, like Durnan, she had 14 saves in that game. Paige Gargiulo, she was big for Massapequa going 2-3. Michaela Gillis, she added a goal, also on the draw circle as well, played a big role for Massapequa. Um, Cameron Labriola, she had 3 goals in that one, so she had a hat trick. But that was a really good game, and if that's a potential playoff preview, then like you can't wait for a matchup like that because it seems like those two teams are relatively evenly matched. So that could be a really fun and entertaining matchup if these two teams were to meet again in the playoffs.
Yeah, it looks like the semifinals in both the ABCs in both Suffolk and Nassau are going to be excellent. Can't you miss watch games? I mean, we've been seeing a lot of that. We'll talk about it later in the week in our game of the week. But I see that Paige Gargiulo is your East Fitness Beast of the Week, huh? Beast of
Yeah,
the
that's
game.
right. Yup.
That's cool. So she gets um, a Mike Kaplan personal training, huh?
Yeah, we'll be sending that her way for sure through the Instagram DMs.
That's cool. And I met you up at St. Anthony's. I got there a little early, stopped off at my favorite little place to get you a little chicken cutlet and mutts, a little lettuce and tomato and Italian dressing, and spent a little time at St. Anthony's having our lunch together before the big game against Southside with St. A's, one of the top high school programs in the country, playing against the top rated Southside team. That game started off as if it was going to be a barn burner, right?
Yeah, we were talking about that while we were covering that game. So the first quarter, it was a 5-4 game at the end of one with St. Anthony's in front, but it was really kind of back and forth through the first 12 minutes. Like Southside, they actually did grab a lead in that first quarter. And yeah, after the first 12, it was looking like that could definitely be a game and may have caught St. Anthony's a little bit off guard, but they ended up just pulling away in convincing fashion for the next 3 quarters and won that game 20-5 actually.
So
But
that's a 15-1 run. That's like
yeah,
that was like the Sixers last night. I wanted to crush them.
yeah, St. Anthony's, they really just ended up kind of pouring it on there. So like some of their standouts, I mean, you could talk about Megan Kenny. She had 5 goals in that game. really. I think she kind of set a tone for the Friars because she kind of got them going early on in that game. Then I would say through the middle and later stages of that game, you had Brooke Long, who was 4-2 in that game. Also, Kat Rathjen was 4-1. Then you want to talk about the Friar defense. I mean, how about Riley Zusi for the Friars? Just absolutely a lockdown defender for them. And Southside just unable to find the back of the net at all, really, the rest of that game. And I think Zussi leading that defense was a huge reason why for St. Anthony's.
Yeah, I know. I thought one of the turning points was they put Amanda Pacey, defender, number 7, who's heading to Duke. They put her on the circle, and she got you know, a few like in the air draw controls. And as we know from watching the girls' game, until the shot clock's instituted next year, the draw is vital to every team's success because, especially St. Anthony's, who's a juggernaut on offense with Calabria running the show. And I mean, she goes 4-1, and we don't even talk about her
Yeah.
because
That's how
it's
that's how
because what we
scary that's
expect from her, right?
right. That's just another day at the office for her.
Exactly, exactly. 4-1 is a career day for most players, and for her, it's just like, whatever. But I tell you, St. Anthony's very impressive. I know they got a big one coming up this weekend against a Jersey juggernaut. But then we decide that
Well,
two. Uh,
hang on. Before we get to the next game, we should just say because like Southside, they were missing a few key players,
oh,
which
good
we
point.
didn't yeah, so we didn't know going into the game that they did not have Charlotte Rathjen. So that's a big blow. And then Avery Testa, she's out for the season, unfortunately, with a torn knee. So those are two big losses for Southside. And we
Yeah,
were
I mean,
talking about how well Sienna Conley played too.
yeah, it's funny. I would be remiss. I did write Sienna's name down on my sheet, and I apologize. She had 3 goals. A defender probably when she goes to Northwestern, but she looked great. I mean, if you could look great in a 20-5 game, she looked great. I mean, that kid is all that and a bunch more. But yeah, I thought she did. And Kat Ratchin, is cousins with Charlotte Ratchin, so it's
Yeah.
interesting when you play against your cousin. It's like a very competitive family dynamic. So good for Kat for getting one of the players of the game in that game, and she played real well.
Yeah.
So we ended up driving from St. Anthony's to the Woodstick Classic girls game, which was at 4 o'clock at
Hmm.
Manhasset, and then the boys game was afterwards. So we covered both of those, and the girls game was it was our second OT game of the day, or
Yeah,
yours, I should say.
we got a little 2-for-1 that day. Two OT games in one day, which was great. So got to go IG Live twice. But yeah, that was a game where GC they maintained the Woodstick. So the Lady Woodstick stays with Garden City, getting the 9-8 win in overtime. So it was Tori Ottamanelli with the game-winning goal in that one. And it was really just textbook execution offensively because we were talking on the IG Live. I know, Coach Wink, you were talking about what Garden City might potentially run coming out of that timeout and saying how you would use Kyle Fennell as a decoy. And sure enough, that's essentially what happened. Fennell was the picker in that situation. So she was the one that set the pick to free up Ottamanelli for that goal. And it was a play that was successful for Garden City on more than one occasion in that matchup. So it's like, why not just continue to go to the well if it keeps working?
Yeah, yeah, especially Fennell draws a lot of eyeballs.
Hmm.
Kudos to Coach Dave Ettinger with the timeout, coming out of the timeout with a good game plan to get Adaminelli free. Adaminelli had three that right? Adaminelli had three in
Yes.
the game.
Yeah, she had three.
Yeah, she played well. I thought Fennell played well. Good move by Coach Jackie Williams to put Perfetto on her after Fennell looked like she was going to go off. She had 2 early goals, and then
Hmm.
she put Lauren Perfetto on. I thought Lauren Perfetto did a real good job on her, covering her and holding her. I don't think she had another goal after that.
No, she
Um,
she didn't.
Garden City is, it's funny, they're a very fine-tuned program. Like they don't make a lot of mistakes. That's kudos to the coaching staff. They do a very good job. Those kids are very buttoned up.
Yep.
Um,
Very organized, very disciplined.
yeah, very disciplined. It's funny, the boys program is the same way. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
interesting how both the boys and girls program. I don't think it's a coincidence that both head coaches are football coaches. I don't think that's a coincidence when you see a team that's so buttoned up.
Hmm.
Their film work is obviously a big indicator there, and the kids are very, very well prepared, and they don't make a lot of they don't make a I don't see a lot of mental mistakes from Garden City.
Hmm.
And that
Right.
kudos to the GC staff, both boys and girls. Who else on the GC and Manhasset team stepped up for you, and you thought played well?
Yeah, so for GC, the sophomore Avery Smith, she was 1 and 2 for them. I thought Kendall Morris on the draw. I thought she was pivotal because at one point, Garden City, they had won. I think we said at the time, probably about 66, 67% of the draws, and most of those were taken by Kendall Morris. I thought she also had a big play right at the end of the second quarter, where she had a caused turnover, where Manhasset looked like they could have had a chance at a last second shot there going into halftime, but Morris with a nice trail check and coming up with the caused turnover going into halftime. And then Neem Faf, always in the net. Seems like she always steps up in big games for GC.
Steady Eddie.
Yeah, you always got to feel good if you have Neem Faf in the net.
Yeah, she's definitely a great leader, great teammate. Yeah, all the young ladies out there that want to see how to be a good leader and a good teammate, you should watch this game. There was some between Lauren Perfetto on the Manhasset side and Niamfaf and Mabel Overbeck, who every time I watch her play is more impressive. I mean, she just plays the game and plays at such a high level, but also a high intensity level.
Hmm.
Love
Yeah,
her intensity. She's a dog. She's one of those kids that she's gonna have a really good college experience, I think, playing at Duke. She's gonna be really good. Manhasset wise, unfortunately, they lost one of their star attackmen to a
yeah,
knee injury.
yeah. I was gonna
Um,
mention that.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
Mila
hope Mia's doing
Pinto.
okay. I saw she's on crutches. I haven't gotten the word, but it didn't look good.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That really is. We
Yeah, I
hope.
felt so bad. I feel so bad when you see a kid goes down in a game, and right away it's this is what you think about. But our best is to Mia Lapinto. I hope you have a quick recovery and just get better. That's the most important thing. Just be healthy. Who else on? I think what impressed me? The sophomore
Oh,
Taylor Gordon.
Taylor Gordon. Yeah, I was gonna go there too.
Yeah, I thought she played well. I like her game. She's good on the draw. She's also slippery. She
Hmm.
finds ways to get like that one play that she made, where it looked like she almost like snaked in and finished. I think it was at the end of a quarter or a half or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was towards the end of I believe that was the end of the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah, that
Or
was a really
end of the second, I think.
really nice play. Really nice play. She's going to be a nice recruit coming off the island. Good sophomores, obviously the Avery Smith kid and Ashley Clark. Who I mean, I just think like we talk about the sophomores because obviously they're going to be the ones, getting looks this summer. A lot of good sophomores we've seen, as we go out there, both on the boys. We'll talk a little bit about the boys in a bit, but I mean, anybody else that we should that we're missing from that particular game?
Yeah, I thought so Hannah Rubin, she had a couple big
Yeah,
saves.
she played well.
Yeah, towards the end of regulation actually. And in overtime, I believe. She stepped up big for Manhasset in the net, I would say.
Yeah, she made a really big save. I remember after she made the save, the coaching staff called the timeout.
Right.
Right? They didn't score on that obviously
Yeah.
because GC got the ball back. But yeah, I thought Hannah Rubin played very well because obviously she was splitting time with Cassiopa. Cassiopa's coming off an injury. Supposedly she's going to be back. Has she been? Did you notice in the box score if she was back this week? I didn't notice.
No, no, doesn't look like it.
Yeah, and then we got to spend an hour with some friends and have a little dinner when we had an hour wait for the boys wood stick, and that was good. We got to I think the Ranger game, was it the Ranger game or the Nick
Uh,
game was
it,
on?
it was the Nick game.
The Nick game was on. We got to watch a little bit of the Knicks, and then we got back there and I got to see Manhasset Garden City, part two with the boys. It was an interesting start to a game. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, GC getting the win there again, 7-2 for the boys. So GC, they actually made it a clean sweep. Both JV and varsity, boys and girls, all winning their respective Woodstick games last Saturday. So Garden City, they definitely got to be feeling good about themselves right now. But um, but yeah, that was a game really that I think it just kind of fit the identity of who Garden City is. I mean, being a 7-2 game, like that's a score that you would expect from Garden City because I feel like they're always a defense oriented first type of team. And I mean you hold anyone to 2 goals. Like that's impressive, but Garden City able to do that against Manhasset and some of the standouts you could talk about for them if you're looking at the defense. I mean, Matt Kephart, I feel like he's the leader and kind of the anchor of that GC defense from the pole perspective. Then of course Dennis Fargione in the net. And then if you want to talk about offensively at the faceoff X, Luke Cascadin. I thought that was important. Garden City getting that win. He actually had a big goal. I believe it was to open. I believe it was to open the third quarter. It was either the third or the fourth quarter, but it was the opening faceoff of the quarter. He wins it and he comes right down and scores. And that really, if Garden City wasn't already fired up at that point, that may have been really like kind of the exclamation point on that one because I just felt like watching that game, just the way it transpired, it never really felt like Garden City was going to lose that game. Like even though it was close, like it was 2-1, 4-2, like it never felt like they were going to lose that game.
Yeah, and it's because they were controlling the faceoff X so much. When you control that, and we saw it in a later in the week, we saw it in another game that we're going to talk about. You basically it's like playing, it's like playing in the street, but your team's the only one with the ball.
Yeah.
How's the other team going to score?
Yeah, it's so one-sided.
And GC's so disciplined, they don't piss the ball away a lot. So it's not easy to beat Garden City if they're dominating the faceoffs. That's
Right.
why the Southside game was probably very competitive because you had two really good faceoff kids.
Mhm.
You got Melkonian, and then that's your X factor there. I mean, think about it. Last year, Manhasset had the best faceoff kid in the country, Cal Gerard.
And remember that when it was Manhasset GC last year, he won every face-off, and that game somehow still went into overtime.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. That just shows you the discipline that GC carries, and they play such good defense. I was impressed that they had a freshman starting on D. I was texting with Coach Fennell, Andrew Dengler started on defense for him.
Mhm.
And I said the last time I saw that, it was Jahelka and Fisher. And those were two kids that went on to play at Harvard, and they were under 19 USA players. So
Yeah, and four-year starters.
that's quite an accomplishment to be a starting defender anywhere on Long Island, let alone the storied program of Garden City,
Mhm.
who prides themselves on having great defense.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And I was really impressed with the midi Charlie Coster,
Oh
the
yeah.
sophomore,
Yup.
number 8. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked really good. That kid's gonna have he's gonna have a lot of opportunity. He played very within himself. He I was very impressed. I was impressed. That was the first time I saw Garden City play this year. So I'm really excited to see like the bees semis. You're gonna have Southside. Right now they're the 1. You got Garden City 2, Manhasset 3. Who's gonna be the 4 in bees?
The 4 could be Calhoun potentially as the 4. because Calhoun for a minute there, they were running the table. I
Yeah,
think
they
they
just
just
lost.
suffered,
Who beat
yeah,
them?
they
GC beat
just
them, right?
they just suffered their first loss.
Was that the GC?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, it could be Calhoun.
Yeah.
Interesting. That semifinal at Hofstra is going to be a good one. It's going to be fun to watch. And then that was our Saturday. That was a good Saturday. We got home around what time did you get home? I got home like 9:30. You probably go home around that time too, right?
Yeah, I think I got home at, yeah, I think at 9:45, I want to say.
Yeah. Did you get a good sleep? Did you go? What time did you go to bed that night? Yeah, we had to get all our stats and scores in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. I think so what I do when I got home? Oh, I think I was watching like Lakers Nuggets game one. That
Uh,
yeah. Then I knocked after that.
yeah. So then Sunday we had our all media day and athletes combine with the all Long Island guys and gals. That was pretty cool. That was a cool experience for all of us and the kids. Thought that went really, really well. And then Monday, because the kids are off of school this week, school break,
Yup.
we just went to a crosstown rival game, which normally is like, the boys' game was a 1-2 goal game, right? The West Smithtown West East game,
Yeah. Yeah.
not the girls' game.
No, that game was all Smithtown West, who they're streaking right now. They're hot. That was their eighth straight win after starting off 0-3. And I think since then, I believe they had a game a couple days after that. So I think their streak now is at nine straight wins. Um, but yeah, they won that one in a big way, 19-5 over Smithtown East. And just they jumped out to an early lead and really never looked back. I mean, Kate Theofield, what more is there to say? Like she was 5-1. Theofield, she always goes off. Like, I mean, I know like putting in the stats and looking at box scores and like even like when we're there, of course, it's like you always know she's gonna have a big game. Jolie Schiavo, she was 3-1, but as a two-way midi, also doing it in the ground ball department defensively with some caused turnovers. Alyssa Lorfus, she had 3 goals, so she had a hat trick. Allie Given, who she was the beast of that game, and that's the second time we saw Smithtown West, and I think walked away really impressed with the play of Allie Given. Um, but Smithtown West, they look really sharp right now, I would say.
I got to
Um,
tell you something. I have to give a shout out to their coach, who's in her second year, Vincenza Petrone, Stony Brook uh, alum. Obviously, got great coaching from Joe Spallina. Also, a Northport alum. Obviously, got an amazing experience working under Carol. I think she was Carol's JV coach for a year or two before she got a teaching job over at Smithtown. And what a hire for the AD Jason Lambert to get this girl, because she is putting this team. I mean, I think West Islip can run with them. We saw the first game, so I
yeah,
think that's going to be an unbelievable. I would be shocked if any other two teams were in the finals.
yeah. Right now, it's got to be looking like it's going to be Smithtown West and West Islip, which that'll be a rematch of last year.
Yeah, where West Islip, did they
Yeah.
win that big? I don't even know
No,
what
no,
it.
it was an 8-6 game.
Yeah,
That's one of those games where it's like if you're Smithtown West, it was almost like you needed to go through that experience of like that tough loss and like learning to lose before like learning how to win, if that makes sense.
totally,
Like
totally.
West Islip was the more seasoned team last year.
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. I think that rivalry now over the next few years, because a lot of the talent for both these teams are coming back. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's some kids that are seniors, but
Hmm.
it's like a lot of the talent is juniors and sophomores.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. It's exciting for everything. I mean, I know we got 4 more games to go over, and we want to discuss the stuff we're doing this weekend. So maybe what we could do is end part one now and then jump in, because obviously we don't want to get cut off while we're talking about somebody.
Yeah, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, just one more point, just finishing up Smithtown West. Just going back to that West East game, like some of the other standouts, like Grace Theofield defensively, I thought she was great. Also scored a goal in that game as well. So shout out to Grace. As I could see how happy they were when she scored in that game. Ashley Manella on the draw circle was big time. And Molly Highland, just an eighth grader,
Yeah.
goals in that game.
Yeah, that kid impressed me. It's funny. She plays club for Carol, and I was talking to Carol about her. She is a talent. That is a talented 2028. And interesting, you see more seventh and eighth graders playing varsity. I just ran into a buddy of mine. His daughter's a seventh grader at Mount Sinai. They just called her up to the varsity. Laney Friedman, which is a pretty cool thing to be called up mid-season. And kudos to her for doing that. But the irony here is that in the boys' game, you very rarely see that. But when we come back, we'll talk about an eighth grader that impressed us, or that was getting some time for the Dale, for Farmingdale in the
Mhm.
big Farmingdale Pequa rivalry. So let's jump out, and then we'll jump back in with part two, and we'll tell you a little bit about Sacred Heart Academy and Cold Spring Harbor Seahawks.
Yeah, so that'll do it here for part one of the weekly crossbar. But stay tuned because coming up shortly will be the start of part two.